Morning everyone, welcome to this session, an orientation session on political science and international relations, PSIR. And before we will start the session, I'll just give you a brief about what we are going to do today. We will try to make the class as interactive as possible, okay? So try to ask as many questions as possible with respect to optional. Otherwise also you can ask me questions in general as well, and wherever I will figure out the opportunity to answer those questions. So the purpose of today's class is to introduce to all of you the optional and the subject of political science and international relations, PSIR as we generally call it, right? So in today's session I will be giving you a brief about what all is there in the syllabus. You get an idea about what all you are going to study, right? And from that we need to get into a little more discussion in terms of understanding the approach of how we need to study, right, different areas of the syllabus, because in political science there is a difference with respect to other optionals, and the major difference is that in political science you have theories and practice in both the papers, paper 1 as well as paper 2. In other optionals usually paper 1 is usually theory and paper 2 is more application of those theories in the Indian context mostly. But in PSIR, in paper 1 also there are theories and its application, and in paper 2 also there are theory and their application, because the two papers themselves are different, right? First paper is related to politics, and then we'll see that how politics is applied in case of India, and in paper 2 we study all about international politics. So there will be theories related to them and its application in the international context also, and also in terms of India's external affairs, because its relationship with other countries will also involve politics, and that will also be considered as what politics? Kind of international politics, which may be bilateral also, it may be multilateral also, right? So I will give you a more elaborate brief on the subject to begin with. Then we will get into a detailed analysis of the syllabus to understand the content, and then we will discuss about the approaches. I'll tell you about the course, what all we are going to do in this course, right? Number of sessions, the hour, the days, the planner, then the writing practices or tests, assignments, all these things, of course the sources of study, the booklet and material that will be given, all the details I will be telling you regarding that, right? Now in the beginning itself, if you have any specific questions, right, please put up your questions in the beginning also. Later on also you can ask, but in the beginning itself if you have questions you can put so that I can integrate those questions in the discussion. If you have any. Yes, anyone? Or from the online students, if you have any questions. Good afternoon, Shweta. If you have any, you generally have a lot of questions, you can put your questions with respect to PSIR. Yes. There is a confusion among many of you as to how to decide your optional. Some of you are still confused, right? Confused between political science and IR and public administration, right? Or history. In case of history, some people have confusion also with respect to sociology. Okay, what all sections, what all classes I'm going to take, who will take what classes, all the details I will give you. I will tell you all the details. Perfect. Fine. So let us try to put over here. First thing you need to, I think, know about the sources of study, right? Another thing we will be discussing about is the approach, how to deal with the paper and different areas of the syllabus. Third thing I will tell you all about the course, right? And along with the course, what is going to be our strategy, what we will follow, what all will be the components, right? In the sources, what we will provide you, what extra resources may be there with you, maybe certain books and all. So I may refer also some books to you people to study, right? Are you people open to study books, or you want to just focus on the study material? Only study material? No, you don't want to study from the study material, you want to study from the books, or you want to do both? Both the things, obviously, because study material will be very comprehensive, will be very specific, what is the requirement will be covered over there. You can totally rely on that. Along with that you can do the newspapers, that will suffice, okay? The rest of it is how you use it, how clear your concepts are, how you have developed your capacity of analyzing things. How many dimensions can you bring when you write the answers? These things are very important. This will be what we are going to develop in the class itself, right? So in that case, I would suggest that you can focus on the study material, but along with that, books are required for reference purpose. Books are not meant to be studied in detail. Books are required only for reference purpose, because books will help you to elaborate a little more on the concepts. It will help you to fill up the doubts, or clear your doubts, or fill up the gaps or loopholes. So those things also I will suggest to you, that which chapters may be given in which book, for what topic. You can do some extra readings. Clear? And then of course at a later stage, or maybe after the course is over also, we will be circulating certain material extra as well, like something more analytical write-up, maybe certain articles and all. So for that you will have to remain connected with us even after the completion of the course. Because see, till the time you are going to clear the exam, you are going to write the main examination, our task is not going to be over, right? So I will rather invite you all to keep in touch also even after that, and continue your learning thereafter as well. Okay, so let us start. These things I will anyhow address through. First and foremost, see, a lot of you have confusion about how to decide your optionals, right? What factors are there, more important factors which needs to be taken into consideration for deciding your optional subject? I would say there are 3 or 4 factors essentially which you should consider. There may be many other factors. What are those factors? On what basis will you decide your optional? If I can just write down, deciding optionals. What all factors will you take into account while you decide your optional? Like you have decided your optional, no? What is the factor? Why have you decided for PSIR? Okay, so one of the factors is that you already have a background in that subject, right? And he has a background in a different subject. Now he probably, maybe, I don't know, if you are opting for PSIR, you will change, but already have a background. But then the question is, what all background people who are coming from which background will find it easier to study political science? This I will tell you, right? So any of the social science streams, it will be easier for you to study. But you know what is the purpose of the class? The purpose of the class is that I will assume that you know nothing about the subject, absolute zero. And it is better if you know nothing about the subject, because it will help me to build upon everything from the clean slate, and your concepts will be far more clear than if you are building from the basics. So you don't have to be worried about as to what your background is if you are going to learn PSIR. But yes, certainly if you already have a background, then this plays a role in the decision of the optional, but I don't consider this to be an important factor. What is more important a factor is that what interest, whether you have interest in the subject or not, whether you will genuinely like to study this subject, or whether you will sleep over your books once you will open it. And I personally consider all the subjects to be interesting, right? It is all about, if you will give importance to something, automatically it becomes interesting, right? If you understand the meaning and the power of what you are studying, it automatically becomes interesting, and it can be made more interesting also. The way it is going to be learned, it becomes more interesting as well. But interest should be the first criteria, because that is going to help you sustain with the subject. That will help you to keep the momentum, because civil services preparation, all of you know that it is going to take some time for you to clear the exam. If you have put in the right effort, and if all other factors have worked well, maybe you will clear in the first attempt, but it might take more time as well, right? So you need to sustain with the subject. So interest is very important. So interest is one thing. Second thing you have to keep into consideration also is look at the syllabus of the particular subject and compare it with the GS paper, right? How much a particular subject will help in the GS paper. So overall help in overall scheme of civil services exam. I would say that you have to also see whether it is going to help you in your prelims also or not. How much of help it is going to give you in your mains preparation. You also have to see whether it is going to help you write better essay also or not. and maybe it is developing your capacity overall as an individual, that your personality becomes better when you are presenting yourselves in the interview board. Because you see that there are, if people are opting for foreign service, and in your priority also you will give foreign service, right? Few people may not be interested, but some people even give foreign service as a first preference as well. Now in that case, they are asked questions on foreign policy and international affairs. In general, everyone will be asked questions on foreign policy and international relations and politics. So that is where it is going to help you. Not only that, even the politics and issues in India as well, which I will in fact elaborate upon afterwards. But I consider that political science and international relations is one subject which helps maximum in your GS preparation. And which area of the syllabus will help you where, while I will analyze the components of the syllabus, I will tell you how it is going to help you in your GS paper. Because it is going to be related to polity also, it is going to be related to history also, it is going to be related to postmodern history also, it is going to be related to foreign policy and international politics also. Yeah, that is included, already included. And I would say not the whole GS paper too, there may be few areas which may not be dealt here, but yes, more or less it will help in your GS paper 2 and areas of paper 1, areas of paper 3 also. It will be helpful. I will tell you what are those areas. Okay, social issues, social justice, many of those areas are very strongly connected with the issues in Indian politics. You are going to study about social movements in India in political science as well. So there is a lot of overlap. Okay, so anyhow we will see that in a little more detail. So helps in the overall scheme of the examination. And then another factor is that is the performance. How the subject is performing in the recent past. This is also a factor for me. If you will ask, I will consider this to be the most important factor. This will be number 1 for me. Number 2 will be how it is going to help you. This is a second factor. This I do not give as much of importance because this will keep changing every year. You will not choose your optional just because this year there is a topper from PSIR. That shall not be the basis of you choosing your optional, right? But yes, it is indicating that probably PSIR is performing well, and every year we have seen the top rankers from PSIR, so there is no harm in taking PSIR. But more important factors would be your interest and help in the overall scheme of the examination. If both the things are working for you, right, then you can go ahead and you can take, but then you have to properly get into the details of the syllabus. Okay, get into the details of the syllabus. Okay, no questions as such. So we will anyhow try to do that. We'll understand it through the syllabus, the subject itself and its power also. You will just get the feel of what this optional and subject is. You see, every subject when you learn, it just altogether opens up the world for you. A new world gets opened up. Tremendous. You will have a lens through which now you will look at the world. Right? As many subjects you learn, as many lenses you get by which you will look into the details of everything. So it's a wonderful subject, very interesting subject, but of course this is how I will demonstrate before you also both the things. One is the component, other is the approach or the strategy, how we are going to study it. Okay? So these are the factors on the basis of which you can decide your optional, and you please do a detailed analysis of the syllabus, which we are doing, and go back and go through the syllabus again and again. I would suggest that you should try to mug up your syllabus. The syllabus should be there in your mind all the time, because that will help you. And if you are reading the newspaper also, you should know, okay, this is something which is related to this particular issue in the syllabus, right? So please do that exercise today itself. And what is the difference? Now I'll come to, broadly I will tell you in generally what political science and IR is all about, and then how it is different from other optionals, and especially what is the difference with public administration. What do you study in PSIR? Essentially, what do you think? What ideas do you have? If you have studied something, what is it all about? It is about government and social issues. Okay, public administration is also about government. Public administration is more about government. Okay, but then what is the difference between the two? Political theory. But then what exactly, why do we require political theory? Where are you applying it? You know, every subject will have certain concepts. You understand basic concepts. What do you mean by basic concepts in any subject? What do you mean by this? The first thing we are going to study in the classes is the very concept of concept itself, because the concept of the concept is never clear. That concept is never clear, and you assume certain things. And I repeat in almost every class, please don't take knowledge for granted, because you assume that you know the meaning of certain terms, but in reality you don't know the meaning. You should assume that you don't know it, and then you start to understand it. Right? If I ask you what is politics, maybe you will not be able to completely answer that question, what exactly politics is. Right? If I ask you what is polity, having studied Indian polity also, you may not answer what exactly polity is. Right? What exactly? So every term has some specific meaning. That understanding, that concept needs to be very clear. Every understanding of any of the area, let's say politics, it will be possible only through when you have identified certain phenomena which are unfolding. Like politics is a phenomena which is taking place, right? So politics in itself is a concept. Every term that you are going to study, the terminologies are the concept, because it is through these words only that you will understand a particular discipline. Right? Like for example, in political science, what are the concepts? What are the basic concepts of political science? Are basically the basic terminology of political science. Through which words, through which concepts are we explaining the phenomena of politics and everything that is related to politics? What are those main words? Tell me some words which themselves will become the basic concepts of political science and IR. What are those basic concepts? Come on. You people must be having some idea. Basic concepts means the building block. Okay. Building block is fine. Something more to it. I am not defining anything today. Okay. Concept I will define properly. What exactly concept is. And you should be clear about what concept is. People take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. Everything needs to be defined and understood. In political science, we talk about, as she said, government, right? More than government, it is about, first and foremost, it is about state. It is about polity. It is about form of government. Okay? It has been said that let the fools contest what be the form of government, whatever is administered best is the best. Now this is someone from administration will say this. They said let the fools contest what be the form of government. So now who is deciding what is the form of government? A political scientist. It is a task of the political scientist to decide what is the best form of government. How the government will run, this is studied in public administration. How everything will happen, how the action will happen is studied in detail in public administration, but what shall be the form of the government, what structure it will take, what will be the nature of the state, how you should design your state, and or which other institution which will require. In the design of the institution, the best forms of the institutions is something which is studied in political science and IR. The basic question in front of the political scientist has been, this itself is what is the best state? Which state can be the best? Plato has given his idea of the best state, Aristotle has given his idea of best state. All followed up political thinkers, they are giving certain ideas with respect to how a state should be organized or how broadly it can run its affairs. Are we getting the point? So politics is a macro subject. If you compare with administration, politics is relatively macro, administration becomes micro in comparison to political science. Because in public administration you get into the details of how things are done. It is about managing the affairs of the government in detail. It is about implementation, it is about execution. A political science is about how things are happening from above. What is the overall view? What is the overall vision? How the entire system looks like, and what institutions, what structure, what organizations are required from above. Have you got the point? the difference? This is about, it is basically about a framework which is there, which will establish the government and which will help the government to function. So the concept in this now, what are the basic concepts in political science? I just want to listen something from your side. What are those basic concepts? Yes. One is state, another is polity. Okay, one is state, another is polity. Then government, then the institution of government also. Maybe legislature, executive and judiciary, but only to some extent. You will not get into overall details, because there is a difference between what you study in Indian polity and what you are going to study in PSIR. There is a difference there. What you study in polity will help here, what you study here will help over there, but there is a difference between the two. Here you are going to study, like for example, the election of the president, right? Election of the president in polity, what will you study? You study the exact process of how the election of the president, it happens. But in PSIR, what will you study? Politics behind the presidential election. So understanding the politics, the knowledge of polity is also required. But polity you are already studying. So if you are already studying politics, then we should not get into the details what you are already studying in the polity. Rather, we should focus more on politics behind, and this is what is expected. In 1969, we had a presidential election where a lot of politics was involved. Right? Have you heard of this election? 1969 presidential election. It had involved a lot of politics. Neelam Sanjeeva Reddy and V.V. Giri were the contestant. It was after this presidential election that Indira Gandhi, because she had given the call that please vote according to your conscience, and the official candidate of the Congress party was defeated in the election, and Indira Gandhi was thrown out of the Congress, and thereafter there was a split in the Congress party, because most of the members went with Indira Gandhi. So she formed the government, but there was split in the Congress. So there was a lot of politics in the election president. So in PSIR, you have to focus on these politics. I mean, just giving you one instance. But there is a difference with Indian polity. In Indian polity, you are going to study about the entire framework of the government. You are going to study about the constitution, and in few areas, maybe some laws you are studying in polity. But in PSIR, you need to know that also, whatever you are studying in polity. Along with that, you need to know what politics is unfolding, what process is there, how these institutions are performing or behaving. Are we getting that difference? Have you got some difference between PSIR and public administration? Public administration is what oriented? It is more management oriented. It is more execution oriented. Politics is more about solution. It is trying to provide the solution and thinking about designing and envisioning and creating the institutions and creating the forms and better forms of state or government. Right? Now, there are other concepts in politics, like for example, what you study in your Indian polity. Rights, fundamental rights. So there is a concept of rights. There is a concept of state and the citizen. Then the relationship between the state and the citizen. What form will it take? There are many concepts involved which explains this relationship. They are what all concepts? Justice, equality, rights, liberty. These are the concepts. Democracy or any other form of government. All these terms are essentially the because you are going to explain politics through these terms only, isn't it? What terminologies are used in a particular subject, those terminology themselves becomes the basic concepts of the subject, because it is through these concepts you are going to develop the subject. Now, what is a concept essentially? What do you mean by concept? What is a concept? What is the utility of concept? Have you ever given importance to this word concept? You haven't, because you have assumed, the way you have been studying, you have assumed, you have just heard it, and by listening to it, you have derived the meaning of what concept is. I don't think you have ever checked that in the dictionary, what concept is. Neither will you get the proper definition or the meaning in the dictionary. If I say chair, you will understand what I am talking about, right? even though the chair is not in front of us. You will understand. So there is a concept of chair. Concept of chair is that there is something which is an object with a particular utility. You have given some meaning. Had this particular object like this chair, had it not been used as a chair and it was just kept there as an object, you don't even know that this is chair, right? Right from the beginning you have been told from your childhood that this is chair, right? If suppose someone comes from some other world here and he looks at this object, he will not understand that this is chair. So you have created a concept of chair. Not only the object, a concept also has been created, which has what? Meaning. If I say equality, you will understand what I am talking about, right? If I say equality, you understand what I am talking about? How you understood it? Because the term equality has been given some meaning, that has been explained. The concept of equality has been created. Something is there outside, like it's raining outside right now, right? Now if just the water is falling, what is it? Is it water or is it rain? There's a difference, right? So someone thought about that this is something which can be called as a rain, and then there can be concept of rain, and then there's a higher concept of monsoon also. A particular phenomena has been identified and then you are giving it a term and you call that as monsoon. So we have created all the concepts in this world through which we are trying to explain the reality of this world. How you explain the reality of political science? How you explain the reality of political science? Through the concepts that are there in political science, and those concepts are what I gave you the examples, and more of it will come. Clear? Have you got the point? What all concepts? So we will see that. Now I am going to make a demonstration. We will see what all is there. So let us start. Now we will go in an organized manner. I am going to explain to you what all is there in the syllabus, what this subject is all about. After that I will be discussing these aspects. ठीक है? Approach क्या है और उसका strategy क्या है? This we will discuss afterwards. Okay? Let's start this now. So we are saying that we have this paper PSIR. In PSIR we have two papers, right? Paper 1 and paper 2. It will be a good idea if you also keep noting down things, okay? Because it will help you later on in organizing yourselves. It will definitely help you. So paper 1 and paper 2. In paper 1 we have theory and we also have some practice. Practice, or you can say it's an application. In paper 2 also you have theory and practice. But in this case theory is given in paper 1, theory is given in section A, and the practice is all given in section B. Section A of paper 1 is all theoretical, okay? What all is there, that is something which is very, section A of paper 1 is the foundation. I generally say that section A of paper 1 is not 1/4 of the syllabus. Section A of paper 1 is half the syllabus, because if you have the command in section A of paper 1, then you will have command in entire political science, even in paper 2 also, because your concepts will be very, very clear. Then it just becomes the matter of application, maybe in a smaller context or maybe in the larger context of the world, international politics. So section A of paper 1 is the most important area of your syllabus, which is entirely theoretical. What is theory and what is practice? And it is called as political science, right? Subject is called as political science. Why is it called as science? Now these questions will come, right? I mean, I cannot answer all the questions in today's class, and in our course initial 4 to 5 sessions will be only for basics. We will not start the syllabus. We are going to discuss all these basic things like concept and theory and paradigms and this, all these terms and we'll also see something basic about how politics evolved. After that, we will start the syllabus. Okay, so what is theory and what is practice? And broadly speaking, I would say that practice is something which is happening. Theory will come first or practice will come first? Theory will come first or practice will come first? Theory will come first. Practice will come first. First, the practice is there. Theory is evolved to make the practice better. Something is happening, okay, but what is the best way of doing it? Theory is the best, it is the best way of doing something. Or it is like something is happening here, like suppose some politics is going on in this country, some politics is going on in that country, some politics in the third country. Now you see that by observing, comparing and studying all of them, you will then derive from this the best form of politics. Have you got the point? A state exists here, a state exists there, a state may be in different countries. This is what Aristotle did. He studied the constitution of different societies and different countries, and on that basis he determined the best idea of the state, his ideal state, and then he proposes the best type of constitution. So theory is, what is the purpose of theory? Theory's purpose is to make the practice better by prescribing something. And how you make the practice better? By studying in different contexts and then you generalize, give the best answer. That becomes the theory. So what can we say? Practice is there and theory may be called in simpler terms, in very simple terms, theory may be called as the best practice, the prescribed practice, right? Like how you made the constitution, how have we made the constitution of India? We have studied different constitutions of the world, right? It's more or less an Aristotelian effort itself we took. Indian constitution involved Aristotelian effort because Aristotle also compared the constitutions, and we here also compare different constitutions in the world, and we have taken the best ideas from everywhere, isn't it? Have we tried to make the best of constitutions or not? And this has become possible only through the process of studying things in detail, right? So you have to, the practice is there, you have to study it and then study it in a more organized manner and develop new ideas and sometimes even prove them scientifically. Do a scientific study. Which is a better study? A philosophical study is better or a scientific study is better? Which is better? In philosophical approach you may not prove everything, but in science you will be proving everything. Okay, I will be elaborating everything in detail afterwards. Right now I am only talking in brief. I am just giving you an idea what is the difference between theory and practice so that you understand what all is there in the syllabus. Okay, I will be dealing with all of them in detail also. In paper 2 what do we have? In paper 2 we have section A. In section A itself, why I am telling you this? Because now when you will look at the syllabus, please identify what areas are theoretical and what areas are applied areas. Okay, what is section A of paper 2? What is it called? It is called as comparative politics, right? Comparative approach, and then it is applied also in international politics. So here you have in section A itself you have some areas of theory, and in section A itself you have some applied thing also, like international politics. Practice is also there in section A itself. There are issues mentioned over there. Okay, the working of the United Nations, the regional organizations, all of this you are going to study as part of section A of paper 2. Section A of paper 2. Have you got the point? So their theory is also there and its application is also given there in section. And section B is what? Section B is what? Theory or practice? Now this is a question. Section B in paper 2 is all about Indian foreign policy. Indian foreign policy is theoretical or is it practical? Practical? No theory? Huh? Theory bhi hoga na, because आप principles follow करोगे, you will be following certain principles, right? In foreign policy, the first thing you have to study is about the determinants of foreign policy, the principles which we are following. Or we are following what principles? What many other countries are following the principles. Are we not following the ideas of Kautilya also in foreign policy? Are we not following the ideas of Machiavelli in foreign policy? So even foreign policy matters will involve something of theory, certain principles would be there. But yes, it will be mostly practical. There is a little theory only, very less theory, that also in the form of principles here. This is mostly practical, section B. Clear? Now you will get, I am going layer by layer, okay. This is a very brief explanation. Now I will get into a little more detail. Now it will become more interesting because now I am going to introduce with the concepts, okay. So let us discuss first this part. Section A of paper 1. What is it all about? Let us see that. We are talking about paper 1, section A. Whatever is given in the syllabus, okay. Having known this framework, when you will look at the syllabus, you will easily remember the syllabus also. See, we have the most important concept in political science is state. All of you know what state is. You have studied this in Indian polity. What is state? Question उसमें भी आ रहा है यार. उसमें भी question आ रहा है. Just put both the chats. Yes. State, so state basically has 4 elements, right? State is something which has 4 elements. It's a territory with some population which is having government which is sovereign. This is how you remember it, you know, in sequence. A territory with population which is having government which is sovereign. 4 elements are there, right? Now when the state, the concept of state emerged in politics, which thinker has introduced the concept of state? Now when you will study political science from books, even in the literature of Aristotle and Plato also the word state has been used, but actually in English the word state is used. They had never used the word state. Rather what they have been using, the concept of polity only and not the state. Machiavelli was the first thinker who brings in the concept of state in the modern sense. And then we try to apply it with a back date, okay. Plato and Aristotle, they have not conceptualized state as such. They talked about polity mostly. There is a difference between polity and state which I am not explaining today. I will tell you, I will explain like how polity evolves. First polity comes and then state comes into existence, because state has a defined definite territory which was not there earlier in case of polity, okay. टेरिटरी आपको कब डिफाइन करनी पड़ेगी? When will you define the territory? When the population will grow, right? When there will be clashes among the societies, among the civilizations, then you will start drawing the boundaries and establishing territory. Then in that concept, in that context, the concept of state will come into existence. Is that clear? State comes into existence at a particular point of time. Right? It evolves, the concept evolves at a particular point of time. And Machiavelli was the first thinker who started using the term state with the meaning of the state itself. Aristotle and Plato, they had not used actually this very concept of state. But this idea you will understand afterwards when we will discuss these thinkers in detail. Now state is there. Another very important concept in political science is that there are individuals, right? After all, we are trying to understand the relationship that is there between state and the individual. Indian polity also you study this only, no? What is your relationship with the state? In that case, what all, there are many other concepts which defines this relationship, right? The first thing is that this is the authority of the state, right? State will have sovereignty. You have heard this word, sovereignty. You know that the state is sovereign. Sovereign means what? Sovereign means all powerful. It has full authority inside as well as with respect to external affairs. No one from outside can interfere, and within the country also the authority has full command. That is sovereign. So state has sovereignty, and its sovereignty is exercised over the individuals because state has authority over the individual. Sovereignty is another concept in political science. State is a concept, sovereignty is a concept, individual is a concept. This individual can be a group of individuals also. State may treat individuals separately, state may treat individuals like a group also. Does it treat individuals as groups also or not? In the policy of reservation, does it treat a particular class in a different way or not? Socially and educationally backward classes, that becomes a group, isn't it? Women themselves can be treated separately, children may be treated separately, people are under different circumstances, they may be treated in a different way. So there are individuals, there are groups, and there may be also communities which will have its relationship with the state. State has its authority over all these different entities in individual terms or in terms of groups, right? Next is, state is going to exercise power or authority. Though it is related to sovereignty itself, but still there is some difference in these two words also, which I will elaborate afterwards. Power and authority are two more concepts in political science. Now you see that you are remembering what? Today you are coming across what? Concepts in political science. What are the concepts in political science? State is a concept, individual is a concept, community is a concept, some type of groups may be concepts. We can see what all different groups are there. Sovereignty is a concept, power is a concept, authority is a concept. In the constitution, you people have studied something in constitution, right? What issues or what chapters are there which establishes relationship between state and individual? Have you got my question? What chapters are there in the constitution that establishes relationship between individual and state? Tell me the name of the chapters. Federalism established relationship between citizen, individual and state. No, that is between center and state. No, yeah. Rights, right? Fundamental rights. It's a relationship between individual and the state. Fundamental rights, fundamental duties. Because your duty is towards the state. State has to give you the rights. Citizenship. Citizenship is the relationship with the state, right? The state has to bring justice to everyone. The idea of justice or equality or giving liberty to the citizen, these are all related to relationship between the citizen and the state. So we have to understand the state, we have to understand this in individuals, we have to understand the relationship between state and the individuals, and relationship takes different forms. It takes the form of sovereignty, power, authority, citizenship, right? It takes the form of rights and duties, or you can even say obligation. Do you have some obligation towards the state or not? Now there is a concept of obligation also. It may not be mentioned in your syllabus separately, but some idea we need to get about obligation as well. What is a political obligation? Is giving your vote, whenever the election happens, giving your vote, is it an obligation or not? Tell me that. Is it an obligation? Giving the vote in the election, is it an obligation or not? Yes or no? It is a political obligation but not a legal obligation. Legal obligation means though you will have to give the vote, right? Government cannot force you to give your vote. It's your willingness whether you want to give the vote or not. But if you will give the vote, it will be good for democracy or not? Will you take upon yourself a responsibility that rather you should go out and give your vote or not? So what obligation it is? It is a political obligation, it is not a legal obligation. You are taking the responsibility. You feel burdened, right? There's a burden of democracy on your shoulders. You have to make democracy successful. So you will take that moral obligation, that political obligation, that rather you will go out and give the vote. This is also a relationship with the state, that you take this obligation. So we have the concept of rights and duties and also obligations towards the state. There are certain obligations which are legal, like duties. Are duties legal obligation? Are duties legal obligation? No, they are also not legal because they are not enforceable. But duties are also obligation. It may not be enforceable, but they are but some duties, like your duty to honor the national flag, there is a legal obligation because there is a flag code which you will have to follow. Are you getting the point? What are concepts in politics? Then we will have state has to bring justice, state has to bring equality among the individuals or groups or communities, justice, equality. Related to rights, there will be liberty also, right? And also the state will take some form of government. What form of government is there in the state, which itself will establish a relationship with the individuals. If it is a democracy, relationship is different. If it is a dictatorship, relationship is different. If it is autocracy or monarchy or plutocracy, these are the forms. I will discuss the forms of government in another basic class, in detail, all forms of government. Okay, this is not given separately, but the terms will come. And all these terms are concepts. Democracy is a concept, aristocracy is a concept, plutocracy is a concept, autocracy, autarky, they are concepts. All the forms of government are concepts, and all these words are concept. It is through these words, it is through these terminologies, because we have identified certain phenomena and we have given meaning to those phenomena to explain the reality of our world, so that everything could be explained. What is political science? Is it an explanation or not? Political science or any discipline is nothing, or social science as a discipline is an explanation of the existing reality in certain ways. And then they theorize to bring the best of explanation to make things better also. That's what you call as theory. I'm just telling you in very simple terms so that you start understanding what exactly they are. It's not about mugging up definitions. It's never about mugging up definitions, or it's about understanding the things. And once you have understood, you will automatically read and remember also, because you've understood it. Or you can create your better definitions, your better explanations as well. Got the point? So I'm confused between, someone has saying I'm confused between PSIR or PABAT. I hope you got some idea on this. Maybe later on I can elaborate more if you still are not clear. But once you get an idea about what political science is, you will be in a better position to understand. You can even analyze the syllabus of public administration as well. This is clear to us? In your paper 1 of section A, okay, everything is related to these words. These are the only words which are mentioned over there. Now I'll tell you, with respect to these words, what all is given there. Now this is even more interesting now. Let's see. This is even more interesting. This is just a kind of an analysis of the syllabus. I'm just not here to tell you this is there in the syllabus. You need to understand why things are there this way. Then only you will be able to understand, right, why the syllabus has been designed this way. See what happens, that there are concepts, right? Now you know what are concepts, right? What are the concepts in political science? The basic terms. These are the concepts, like what? State, sovereignty, citizenship, rights, duties, justice, democracy. These are the concepts. We are to look at what are the best ways of bringing these concepts. That is, we need what? We need best state. We need best form of sovereignty. We need best form of government. In the government also we need best form of democracy. We need best way of giving justice, best way of giving rights, best way of bringing equality, best way of all the concepts. Have you got the point? And the best way will be given by different people in different ways. Aristotle will give different best state, Plato will give a different best state, Machiavelli will talk something else. isn't it? You will say, for anything you will have your opinion, right? That, like, if I ask you, is India a democracy? Or if I ask you, please rate India as a democracy on a scale of 0 to 10. Now all your scores will be different or not, right? So your best form, if I ask you what is the best form of government, some will say democracy, everyone will not say democracy, right? There are people who actually like dictatorship also. Or some people appreciate that we were better off during the British times, let's go back, let's call them back. Some people, they were saying like, okay, maybe true that certain realities or maybe administration was a little more efficient there. Some people appreciate China's success story, and we say that we are very slow, but then a lot of people will say slow is still fine, still we are democracy. So the best form of Plato and Aristotle, they have criticized democracy, right? Aristotle had put in his classification of the forms of government, he puts democracy in the perverted form of government, because he could see in democracy what happens. People who have the power of speech, the demagogue, they are able to win, they are able to capture power by sheer power of their speech, right? They take people for a ride, and some of those sorts, it happens in our society also. Our leaders also take us for a ride, a big ride, and they make us give vote for them. So democracy may not be the best form of government in every context. Have you got the point? So every concept, different people will see it from different perspective. Okay, what are those perspectives? Like here we have those perspectives. It can be some perspective, or what you can call as the school of thought, school of thought, or what we can say is approach of looking at something. Someone can look at it more philosophically, someone will look at it from the political aspect, someone will look at it from the social aspect, some people will look at only from the economic aspect. Some people will say good politics is good economics. Marx says everything is determined by economy. Economy is at the base, and on the base of economy, the superstructure of the society, it grows. The kind of state you will have, the kind of society you will have, the kind of politics you will have, it depends upon the change, their mode of production. And it's true also. The idea of Marx is amazing to understand the realities of the world of today. And thankfully we have Marx in the syllabus, that we are going to study that to understand the reality of the world. As to how in the agriculture, why is it that in the agriculture mode of production, the form of government is always monarchy? And with the changing mode of production, as comes the industrial revolution, the mode of production changes. Monarchy is replaced by other forms of government. Slowly democracy will come. Are you getting the point? Some people may give importance to economy in their understanding of the state. So the approaches, there are different approaches, and then there are different ideologies. You know ideologies? Today's class is only about, I am not discussing any details of anything, okay? So I am not getting into what exactly is ideology, but of course I will explain in all the classes, I will explain you every term. Don't ever take any words for granted. There are political ideologies, and you people must be knowing some political ideologies. Can you give me some examples of political ideologies? Give me some example. You must be knowing political ideologies. I mean, as a citizen, you know, right? BJP का ideology क्या है? कांग्रेस का क्या है? नहीं पता? UPA को UPA क्यों बोला जाता है? A student of political science should analyze, right? Why UPA is called as UPA and why NDA is called as NDA. There is a huge meaning in these terms. It's not arbitrary that they have just termed it as UPA or NDA. There's a lot of meaning behind these terms. A TMC, the Trinamool Congress. Trinamool means what? It's a Sanskrit word for grassroots democracy. Now they have chosen such a wonderful name for describing their party. Everything has a lot of meaning. I don't take it for granted. Socialism, liberalism, conservatism, Gandhism, nationalism, feminism, ecologism. These are the political ideologies. Marxism. Okay. So if you have a particular ideology, then if you look from your ideological lens to something, you will have a different idea, right? A liberal will give more importance to democracy. A liberal will give more importance to the idea of democracy. He will give more importance to liberty, right? But a socialist will give more importance to equality. A liberal person will give more importance to liberty. Liberal is related to liberty only, no? And socialist will give more importance to equality, social equality, isn't it? So different people are going to give different interpretation to the concept based upon their ideology also. A liberal will say different idea of state. Clear? Are you getting the point? Perspective and ideology. Perspective is a very general term. Okay, these themselves can be perspectives. Okay, this is a very general term I have written. These themselves can be perspectives. Is the way of looking at something, your perception. Okay, and it depends upon what lens you are carrying through which you are looking at things, isn't it? What is your ideological lens? What is the approach lens you have? Is it scientific approach or a philosophical approach? Are you getting the point? It could be sociological approach, it could be political approach. Within sociological approach there are many approaches. So first of all, in your syllabus you have to study about what all are approaches. Okay, this is one of the, in section A it is mentioned political approaches. What are the approaches? This is one thing. First you understand different approaches, then you understand also different ideologies. There is one particular topic there, political ideologies, in which many ideologies are mentioned and you have to study all the ideologies in detail. And I think that's the most important thing to study to understand our world, is ideologies. Are we getting it? And once you know approaches and ideologies and the thought, schools of thought, different schools of thought or different thinkers, how they look at, because thought depends upon times. Thought basically emerges in different times, in different social context. There's a Greek school of thought, right? What was situation then in Greece that people started to look at state in a particular way? Why is it that Hobbes and Locke are talking about liberal ideas? Because Hobbes and Locke were living in the times when revolutionary changes were happening in the society of Britain. In fact, when I discuss Hobbes and Locke in detail, I will have to discuss the history of Britain with you first, because without understanding the context, you will not be able to understand the thinkers properly. And especially in case of Hobbes and Locke, it is very important to discuss a brief history of Britain and what was happening. And then it becomes absolutely clear to you that why are they talking about these ideas? What kind of state will they talk about? In ideologies, there are many different types of ideologies, like we have liberalism, we have socialism, you have nationalism, there is feminism, even Marxism, though Marxism can be considered as one of the types of socialism itself, revolutionary socialism, still we can write it separately, many other ideologies. Now when you study, there is a topic like state there, theories on state, okay? So theories on state means there is a liberal theory of state, because state is what? State is a concept, right? So when you are studying the theory of state, then you will look at the state from different approaches, whether sociological, political or scientific, structural approaches you will look at the state, or you look at the state from liberal idea. So there is a liberal theory of state, there is a socialist theory of state, there is a Marxist theory of state, there is a feminist theory of state, and there is a Gandhian theory of state also, because Gandhi is also an important political thinker and it is also an ideology. That's the scope of the syllabus. If you are studying democracy, another concept, or you are studying rights, or you are studying equality, then there will be what? Liberal theory of democracy, socialist theory of democracy, Marxist theory of democracy, feminist theory of democracy. Some may not be there because some are yet not that evolved. If you are studying rights, liberal theory of rights, socialist theory of rights, Marxist theory of rights. Okay, And then if one concept is clear, no, if the state itself gets clear, automatically other will get clear, automatically will get clear. It's all about how well organized your knowledge is. How well organized, then the subject becomes a cakewalk, it becomes very easy because you have just understood everything. Ek literature bhi pad loge, then it's fine. Have you got the point? Clear? Concepts क्या है, clear हो गया अभी आपको? Basic terminologies है concept, because it is through these terms only you are explaining the reality. So you have coined the word and giving them some meaning. That's what concept is. I mean, yeah, exactly. You can say that concept basically is an object or an idea or a phenomena described in words and given meaning. Right? That's the definition of concept. कोई भी फिनोमेना वर्ल्ड में है, आप उसको कैसे एक्सप्लेन करोगे? किसी ने उसके बारे में, फॉर एग्जाम्पल पॉवर्टी, should we not give credit to the person who identified poverty first and foremost or not? Something called as poverty, there's a conceptualization, isn't it? There is a reality which is there, and poverty and inequality are not the same thing. Not the same thing, because inequality may not lead to poverty. Maybe everyone is rich, still there is inequality, right? Poverty means people are living certain basic standards which are required for living. Some people are below that. When you identify that this particular standard needs to be established, below which should be seen as substandard, and then people will be called poor, first person must have conceptualized this and given it a term called as poverty. Thus the concept of poverty comes into existence. And we have taken the efforts of these people for granted, because we are just unmindfully using these words without giving any credit to those people who have created these terms. Have you got the point? And in the social science, the best part is that our world is becoming more and more complicated every day, right? New and new phenomena are emerging. New realities, new relationships are emerging. And you have to keep coming up with new concepts to define new relationships, new phenomena, and new types of behavior. That's why it is also, even theory is related to current affairs, because you have to see that what are the latest developments in the concept, latest developments in theories. This also will have to be seen. Clear? And that is something which we'll keep discussing once the classes are over. No? Slowly and slowly we'll keep, and you yourself will be empowered to figure out by yourselves what are the new ideas. Once you have started taking interest in the subject, everything will happen. Yes, Nitish has given, a lot of people have given, Subin, John has given all the answer to what are political ideologies. Sweta, fine, perfectly all right. I hope we are getting some feeling what is there in section A is clear. Concepts, and उन concepts पर theories है, और theories different perspectives या different approaches के according है, ठीक है ना? So if you will see the syllabus, now you will easily understand what is there. There is a theory on power also. Power is also a concept, right? I mentioned power, authority. Who has the power? Who has the power? In different societies, different people will have the power. In India, who has the power? People have the power. People have some power. Mr. Ambani, Mr. Adani also have some power. Government also has some power. Some power is there with bureaucrats. Where is the locus of power? This needs to be analyzed. How the loci of power, is it closer to the people or is it away from the people? In a democracy, the locus should be closer to the people, no? But it may happen that we call ourselves democracy, but people are not powerful because other people are dominating. Then there are elites who are dominating, and the masses remains poor. Now this is another way of dividing. Now Marx says that all hitherto history is the history of class struggle. Marx explains the reality of the world in terms of class. So he created a concept first, concept of class, and then he explains the reality of the world through what? Classes. He says all hitherto existing history had been a history of class struggle. Feudalism में दो class थे, landlord and the peasants. Then capitalism came, there were bourgeois and the proletariats. Before that there were, even in the earlier times, primitive communism, earliest of time there were masters and the slaves. I mean after primitive communism, master slave society, and before that there was primitive communism. And then he proposes that there should be classless society. This is what he proposes. So he is looking at the world through which concept? Concept of class. He says society में क्या है? Classes है. Then there are elite theorists. There are theories of power. They said the power is with which people? Power is with the elite. They divide society into those who are elites and those who are, what is the opposite of elite? Elite you understood, right? Elite means, what is the Hindi word for elite? Okay, what is the opposite of elite? If I say this is society, right, and here you have the elite, then who's there? This is the society. Society includes elite and what? Elite and masses. Masses is not people. Masses is equal to people minus elite. Elite are not part of masses, and people don't understand the word mass and they use it for people mostly. Clear? And then there are theories on this, and then they will prove how the elite becomes powerful. They prove that also. They give the explanations. And then you understand, oh, this is happening in our society as well. If you have understood what these elite theorists like Gramsci and Mosca and Michel, C. Wright Mills, all these elite theorists, whatever they have said, you will understand your society much better. Your mind will open up. You study Antonio Gramsci and you see what happens to you, who was put in jail, in the prison by Mussolini and was tortured. And Antonio Gramsci writes his prison diary. In the prison he develops these ideas which were inspired by Marxist ideas, and he is one of the neo-Marxists, belongs to neo-Marxist school of thought. So he will look at state from a different perspective. He will look at democracy from a different perspective, according to his own experience, his own times, his own society. Have you got the point? Clear? That's what section A is all about. Okay? You will easily relate now once you look at what all is there in section A, what we are going to study. And if this is done, you know, more than half of the work is done. More than half, because everything else will become a cakewalk after this. But for this, we will have to put a lot of effort. If we put the right effort here, all our work will, and this will take you, this is going to make your concepts of Indian polity also much more clear. Once you know about the theories on rights and theories on democracy, you will better be in a position to understand Indian polity in a better way. Any questions now? Anything you have to say? Any question on this? You can ask. Okay, in Hindi we use the word, like you know, there's a party called as Aam Aadmi Party. What is Aam means? Aam means masses, and opposite of Aam is Khas, right? So elite is which? Khas people. That is those people who by virtue of their qualities, that quality may be good or bad also, by virtue of their qualities they have reached on to the top in the society, in a dominating position, and they continue to dominate by certain qualities. Okay, like for example, everywhere you will have elite. In every section there will be elite. In the in the profession of doctor there will be elite doctors. In the profession of engineer there will be elite engineers. In the profession of politics there will be elite politicians, those who are at the top. Okay, so when you qualify civil services examination also you will become elite. Because you have, by virtue of some quality, you have reached on to the powerful position. After all, it's a position of power, you know. By clearing exam itself, you become powerful because more people are listening to you. Your words becomes more credence, has more credence. Whatever you will say, people will listen to it, accept it also. Right? If I just ask some topper to come, like probably you will listen to the topper more and you will listen less to me. It may happen. That's how my mind works, no? Got the point? What is elite? In every profession, there are people who have reached to the top, and they are dominating, and they create a nexus also to dominate. In diplomatic, why in diplomatic sense? Just in simple terms, you say, what is the relationship? What do you think is the relationship between the elite and the masses? Will it not be a relationship of domination? A relationship of exploitation also sometimes? A relationship to, you say, taking them for a ride also? What politicians are doing to us? Politicians being in a power position, they are taking us for a ride many a times. Right? Power over others, yes, they have power. Elites have power. They are influencing. Yeah, in any term, it could be intellectual power also, no? An educated person also can become elite. A social leader with a very strong network is also elite because he is in a position to influence. So those who are able to influence, those who have power or maybe having authority, there is a difference between power and authority, which I will tell you afterwards, of course. There can be this relationship. Can be defined. Businessmen also are elite businessmen and masses. Businessmen are masses also. We have like small shopkeepers, street vendors, and you know, people who are like carrying the market on their head also and going door to door to sell things. Is also, market is also dynamic, it's moving everywhere. It's masses. Yeah, exactly. Like politicians, you have the big politician at the national level is elite, and a small politician in a small mohalla or, you know, ward is a part of masses, may become masses. Everything is relative also. In the world of social science, nothing is absolute, you know, everything is relative. First thing you have to learn, if you are, those people who are from the science background, first thing you have to adjust to this reality is that you are not going to get any final answers over here. Isn't it? In the world of science, there is a final answer. Thus, you will prove the whatever numerical is there, thus proven. Left hand side is equal to right hand side. Proved. In mathematics, you have like final answer. There is a numerical value which will come, that's final. But in social science, no final answers. Because everything is interpretation, everything is a viewpoint, everything is opinion from different perspectives, school of thought, approaches and ideologies. What is the best form of government? No one knows. Some people will say democracy, some will not say, like some will say criticize democracy. Some will say that no, we may still have even a better form of, maybe we'll have tomorrow, I don't know if the robots will start ruling us, we'll have robocracy, something like that. You know, that technology will start ruling us. There's something called as technocracy also, but that is a little different, not exactly that technology is ruling. But the people who know technology are ruling, right? The technical experts, if they have the power, it becomes technocracy. Bureaucracy is a rule of officials. When the officials are ruling, it's bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is another concept in political science. But bureaucracy we will discuss very briefly here. And in public administration, you will discuss it in detail. Because in public administration, you get into details of the concepts, which are like management oriented. Organization becomes more important there, right? Coordination, monitoring, implementation, these things become more important there in public administration. How the government is running its affairs. Here it is all about what is the nature of government, what is the nature of state, what is the nature of relationship between state and the citizens, and how these political concepts, whatever we have mentioned, how are they established, what are the best ways to have these. Got it? Shall we move now? Next one. Okay. So next is section B of paper 1. Paper 2 will take us much lesser time because most of the things would be clear by then. Okay, it will take us much lesser time. What is there in section B of paper 1 is politics in India, right? What is it all about? This is about politics in India. How politics has, now can you tell me when politics started in India? And here you should also know what is politics. What is politics? Come on. You know, what of polity? Practice of polity, no. Politics is original or polity is original? Because of politics there is polity, or because of polity there is politics? Because of politics there is polity. Politics is good or bad? Primarily it is good. It has a good purpose. The purpose of politics is to solve the problems of the society. Politics is for what purpose? Problem solving, but the way we see it, it is like creating more problems for the world. Yeah, that's there. But ideally speaking, politics is good. It is about solving the problems. See, in society, there are people who are pursuing their interest, right? Different groups are there who are pursuing their interest. And everyone, this pursuing of interest is also politics. Why are you pursuing certain interests? Because you have some problems and you want to address it, right? Like women, they are pursuing their interest. Why are they pursuing their interest? Because they are facing certain problems and they want solution. So politics is about pursuing interest. It is about problem solving. And when many people are pursuing interests, then will there be conflict in society or not? Like different groups are pursuing their interests, so there will be conflict. Conflict itself is a problem which needs solution now. So conflict resolution is also politics. Right? Don't write it. I will make you people write this in detail. Once we will be in the class, then we'll write in detail what all politics is. But please just try to get a feel of it. So politics is about problem solving primarily. It is related to pursuing interest, problem solving, conflict resolution. And how will you solve the problem? Who is in a better position to solve the problem? Who is in a better position to solve the problem? Person with power. So politics is about pursuit for power. Because if you will get the power, then you will be able to solve the problem. How will you get the power? How will you get the power? By making false promises to the people. Basically you will get into power in a democracy when you get majority, right? When you get majority votes, you will come to power. How will you get the majority vote? Then you will have to do sabka saath, sabka vikas. Otherwise you will not come to power. And sabka saath, sabka vikas means, what is it? It is aggregation of interests, right? Aggregation of interest. You are saying we will take care of your interest also, we will take care of your interest also, you will take care of your interest, please vote us. You have aggregated the interest. So politics is about not only interest, pursuing interest, it is also about aggregation of interest to come to power. You got what politics is? Politics is about problem solving, conflict resolution, pursuit of interest, aggregation of interest, pursuit for power. And once you will come to power, what will you do? To solve problems, you will create more mess, you will make policies. So policy making is also related to politics. That's why the word policy, P-O-L, is there, no? And politics mein P-O-L comes from where? It comes from polis, which comes from Greek city-states, which were called as polis. This all I'll explain how everything is evolved. I'll explain you how polity comes, how state comes, how politics comes, everything I'll explain afterwards. But you got the point what politics is, right? Politics in India, when it starts, when politics started in India. Now politics is there right from the beginning, but politics was in close quarters earlier. Earlier it was not in the public domain. Earlier people were not involved, masses were not involved. only elites were involved, and in elite also certain sections were involved. Like the businessmen were not involved in politics earlier. They got involved afterwards. Yeah, I mean the kings and the nobles, people with some militia, some power, some army, the nobility was involved in politics. So it was very restricted. In the public space, politics was not conducted. When politics starts in the public space in India? When will it start? Some politics would be there in public space also earlier as well. After all, even in our mythological stories also, there's like a lot of politics, So you talk about Ramayana itself, there's a lot of politics there. And in the ancient history also, you'll find a lot of politics, like people are getting involved, but it was in a limited way, But in the larger public domain, the politics started, it came in when organizational politics will start. When will the people start pursuing their interest as a group? Which was the first group which will start pursuing its interest? This is what, politics in India, there are two things here. Before independence, right? Before independence and after independence. This is how we will divide this. Before independence, politics more or less will start with the organizational politics. After the permanent settlement of Bengal, Zamindari associations were established. You will study all this in our modern history also. Zamindari as a class, aristocratic class, will first find its space in conduct of politics. Right? Have you read some modern history? No? Yes? So पढ़ा होगा ना आपने कि Zamindari association, landholder societies were established. When were they established? In the early 18th century. Right? Early 18th. Permanent settlement of Bengal happened in 1793, right? Uske baad Zamindari as a class will start becoming more important. Zamindars wants to pursue their interest. They will pressurize the British to give them more power. Isn't it? And then later on they will say that we want to be there in the council also. Indian Council Act of 1861 for the first time gave place to Indians, but not by election, but by nomination. Who will get nominated? Zamindars, aristocratic class will get nominated. This is how politics start. And then will come these middle class intelligentsia, the Congress people, the moderate leaders. This will be the next phase of politics, the politics of moderates. Who will say we want to be more democratic, we also want to be there in the council. Isn't it? Like the Viceroy's executive council and the legislative councils. I mean, this is all about the evolution. You may have studied this as part of modern history also and polity as well. They want representation. Middle class intelligentsia are those people who are educated. They want to get some space in politics, they want some representation. Therefore, they will say we want to get elected. This is how the democratic politics will start with the coming up of the Congress, Indian National Congress in 1885. Then there is a politics of extremists. Then there will be different schools of thought, different ideologies emerging. In India, 1920s was the decade when different political ideologies it came. Communists and Marxists also comes. Communist Party of India was established in 1924 by M.N. Roy. M.N. Roy is one of the foremost thinkers in our syllabus. Right? He was part of the International Comintern, very close to Lenin earlier. They had differences afterwards. Then we have socialism. Impact. Socialism is a little different from Marxism. Democratic socialism or Fabian socialism, as we say. There were many leaders who were following that. They were conservative leaders. They were leaders who were trying to preserve India's traditions and culture and all those things. What you call as the right-wing leaders. So different types of politics. Now what is there in your syllabus is an analysis. Before independence you have to study the politics of freedom struggle. In your history you will study about freedom struggle, but here you are going to study the politics of freedom struggle. So you have to get into deeper analysis, and the way you will understand this politics behind freedom struggle, your everything, all your concepts of freedom struggle will get clear. freedom struggle, the modern Indian history is very conceptual, very conceptual. I mean, you will find like civil disobedience movement and non-cooperation movement. If you will remember something, you know, it gets mixed up. It happens or not? Like you don't remember in which movement what happened, what was the strategy, but they were very different. If you have understood the politics behind and the concepts, which concepts were involved at what point of time, how they emerged, there is a complete clarity over here. There are different ideologies. Now, different leaders had different ideologies. There were Marxist leaders in India. Any name? Marxist? Those who had the Marxist ideology, except for M.N. Roy. Yes? At the centers, I mean, at least the class will be available online. If you have any confusion with respect to other centers, the class will be available online to you. So in online mode, you can always join, right? Whatever platforms is easy for you. Yes. Any Marxist? Bhagat Singh? Bhagat Singh was Marxist, no? He was Marxist actually. Marxism is also a type of socialism. It's a revolutionary socialism. He was revolutionary. Huh? Yeah. He was a revolutionary also. Nehru was also socialist, but Nehru was democratic, believed in democratic socialism, evolutionary socialism, not revolutionary socialism. That evolved slowly. Right? The entire your Hindustan, Republican, what was Hindustan Republican Army was there, HRA. Right? Later on it became HSRA. They added the word socialist. All the leaders were Marxist. All of them were revolutionary. Even Chandrasekhar Azad, all of those people, they had some belief in the revolutionary ideas. Bhagat Singh was at the forefront. He was very clear. He was a great intellectual. At a very young age, he had studied so much. He had a great idea. He had a great idea about what shall be the solution of the Indian society in future also. He didn't talk only about political freedom. He also talked about socio-economic freedom. Because he himself was, a Marxist thinker. Are you getting this point? Like ideological, variations which were there in leaders, in different, whatever events were happening, how different ideologies are interplaying, this understanding will also come because now you are studying it through political analysis. Okay? So all these entire freedom, and then the Indian freedom struggle, if it is studied today, then people with different perspectives, different approaches and different ideologies, they have different interpretation of the study of the freedom struggle. Like there's a subaltern perspectives. People who are not in the mainstream, there's a subaltern perspective of looking at the freedom struggle. The subaltern perspective, like you look at from the perspective of like how Ambedkar would see the freedom struggle, from what perspective? Now how the Dalits would look at the freedom struggle. There's a different, how the feminists will look at the freedom struggle. So there are different perspectives and these perspectives are there in your syllabus. There it becomes a theoretical because you are interpreting it, trying to understand, trying to explain the reality of the freedom struggle from a particular aspect. And if your concepts and your ideologies and your approaches are very clear in section A, everything that is applied over here will be very, very clear. Then politics in India after independence, this is your syllabus of GS, post-independent history, isn't it? So there are, what all aspects are there? Here you have to study about the new ideas or the new values which we are trying to institutionalize after independence. What are the new ideas, the new values which we are trying to institutionalize after independence? First of all, the new constitution and the preamble, the values which are enshrined in the constitution itself, democracy, right? So salient features of the Indian constitution, the values of the Indian constitution, preamble, these things are also there in your syllabus. This is related to polity. This is purely related to polity. But here you should be able to understand politics. Though the questions in the exam are pretty straightforward and simple, okay? but content which you will write, if you have a very good understanding, then you will have a wonderful dimensions and analysis in your answers. You will have a lot of points in your answers if you are clear. Questions are pretty easy, they are not difficult. We will in the class, I almost discuss all the previous year's questions and answers also in the class. Once the particular, this will be over, some questions I get into details, but some questions which will be easier, I will just interpret it, will tell you what will be the answer. But many questions I will give you as assignment, I will ask you to create the structure, I will tell you how to create the structure, we will come back, I will give you the structure. And then we will also be discussing about how to write the answers. So introductions or conclusions, maybe having some challenges over there, right? Or whether to write in point form or in paragraph form. What can be written in point form? What can be written in paragraph form? How will you present your answers? What is a good answer? What all content, what all aspects has to be there in the good answer? So because ultimately you have to score, right? The purpose is to learn the subject, more than that is to score, is your presentation in the exam. So those things will happen, that empowerment will keep happening. Okay, so new ideas and values in one thing. Second aspect is you are going to study about the institutions, new institutions which we have established, the political institutions. And obviously we are interested in political institutions. What are the political institutions which we have established? Democracy may also be called as an institution, and constitution may also be called as an institution, but that is covered in values itself. In the institutions will come in legislature, parliament, legislature, and the executive. In executive, political is more important for us. We are not going to study the details of bureaucracy here, that is studied in public administration. Our focus will be on political executive, and in political executive, the politics behind it. Prime ministers, like one session I am going to discuss all the prime ministers and the politics associated with them. What is their political style? What were their political ideologies? What were their political vision? Right? Then the presidents of India, the politics behind the elections, the style of the president. We have rubber stamp president also. We have people's president also. Who was a people's president? Kalam is called as a people's president. And the constitutional presidents who will stick to the constitution word by word. Right? Active presidents, inactive presidents. So presidents will classify in different categories depending upon how they have performed, how they have behaved. So it's not just about, like in polity, your focus is on understanding the positions, right? You in polity, what you study? Mostly you study about the president, his position, his powers and functions. This is what you study. But here I am not going to discuss what you are studying in polity. Okay? It is included, but I cannot discuss that, because if I will discuss that, then I will not be able to discuss these many things over here, because you are already studying it in your polity, right? So why to unnecessarily waste our time? Let's give more time to other areas, no? Let's give more time to section A, let's give more time to understand the politics. What you cannot do for yourself, we will be doing that in the class. And what you can do by yourself, why should I be bothered about it? Tell me that. Do you want to waste your time? Shall I discuss the functions of the president here, but you have already studied in your polity classes? There's no point. And if you have any problem, maybe I can take some sessions or extra sessions, or I can help you separately also. You can always ask doubts related to that after the class, anytime, through WhatsApp also, never a problem. Okay, I'll be open for that. Institution, legislature, judiciary will also come, no? Because in judiciary also there are politics or political, like for example, whether to have the collegium of judge or not. There are certain decisions, no, which are determined politically. There are some, some judicial activism. Why it happened? Why judicial activism happened? Because the other institutions were not performing properly. So briefly, there are judicial review, judicial activism, then the politics between judiciary and legislature. You know all those cases, right to property cases. Keswan Bharti, Golaknath. Now this also you need to know in detail here. I will discuss that in one class. All of them. And the issues also, the socio-political issues behind them. Then the local government is also institution, no? Panchayati Raj institutions and the local. But when you study PRIs in public administration and when you study it in political science, there will be a difference. In case of public administration, you will study the details of the administration. You will study the details of the composition and functions, everything, structure and function. Here we need to understand the issues related to PRIs and the political issues. So some structure and function also we'll know, but we need to know the issues in a little more detail here. Okay, and you study PRIs also in your Indian polity. So slight difference will be there in terms of the content. Context, politics, performance will be more important in political science. Okay, so the institutions, and then there are independent bodies, the National Human Rights Commission and other independent commissions. Now this is one unit, okay. National commissions I will not discuss in the class, all the national commissions. I will discuss one framework, I will give you the entire conceptual clarity. If you will study NHRC, automatically your understanding will be there on all the commissions. It is more or less the same. This is one unit which I will not cover in the class. Okay, everything else we will cover in the class except for this one single unit, because it will be a sheer wastage of time if we are going to discuss all of them. Rather, I will just give you one single framework, you apply it to all the commissions. You know, if you have, if you remember the functions of NHRC, then the same functions you will have to write in National Commission for Women also, except for that you will have to look at it from the women's perspective. Functions are more or less the same. Okay. Apart from institutions, what you have to study, like the political executive, their details, and independent bodies and PRIs and urban local bodies, we will study. Third thing is, if I can just very broadly classify it, I will call it as socio-political, and even economic for that matter, because economic is also involved in this, socio-political processes and change. What all socio-political processes are there and what changes are happening. This is where all the issues will come. This is where your post-independence history, the syllabus of GS will be there. Like for example, the demolition of feudalism, right? The land reforms that have happened and the politics behind land reforms. Then Naxalism and all these things will also come there. No, it's related. Security issues and the politics related to that. Federal issues will be there. Center-state politics. Now in polity you are studying about center-state relationship, what is given in the constitution, but here it is about politics behind it, the issues behind it. Like we also will get to know about the political role of the chief ministers in the political executive at the state level. Right? And chief ministers and the center and the state, what is the relationship? Earlier what it was like and now it is what like, because there is a lot of, in fact it was there from the earlier times, and many a times earlier the the central command, high command used to send the chief ministers in all the states when there is a one party dominance, and there were chief ministers who were very close to the prime ministers. Narasimha Rao was one of them, like very close to Indira Gandhi, was chief minister of Andhra Pradesh when major land reforms were brought in Andhra Pradesh in early 1970s. Then the politics of the different political parties, that's most interesting thing. How the regional parties they started to emerge, what were the phases in which they emerged, how the one party dominance ended, the Janata experiment, and there were many parties which split up from the Congress. Now it's a story of splitting up of Congress itself is very interesting. We'll have to see the entire tree emerging, how different parties have split up and how have some of them merged up later on. The Janata Party coalition or the experiment, how the parties came and merged there, what politics was involved there. After the failure of the Janata experiment, there was the first phase of coming up of regional parties. In fact, the first phase was even before, it was in 1967 elections. 1967 is said to be the great divide in the political history of India, because after 1970 at the state level the domination of the Congress party ended. 1967 DMK comes to power in Tamil Nadu, and in UP it was the Lok Dal which became active. In West Bengal now there is CPIM and the coalition government's era starts there. So the Congress domination at the state level, it ended in 1967 when some regional parties emerged. 1977, AIADMK as a party came into existence, right? Who was the leader? AIAD, M.G. Ramachandran. There was a new trend of film actors becoming leaders and launching their political party. 1982, Telugu Desam Party, NTR. Another new phase of regional parties. BSP was formed, Bahujan Samaj Party in 1980s. And there were different such movements which are related to political parties also. So the entire political scene has to be understood, and this is very, very interesting. This is very, very interesting. Oh yes, this is why I will not discuss the powers and functions of the president, because I have to discuss these things what you cannot do by yourself, because all these things are not given properly anywhere in any one single book. I have spent a lot of time in gathering things from different sources, and I can create a model or a framework in which you will understand everything. Class is all about how well frameworks can be arranged, no? Through what frameworks you will understand things, through what models you understand things. Without models, I don't think, a teacher should be creative enough to create models for you to understand things. And that is what we will have to do. This may be, this may look to be very time, but I will just, capture, within 2 class itself you will feel as if you get to know everything. Because if you will do it in an organized manner, if you have the clarity, it can very easily, you will be empowered on this. Same with respect to political economy. Now, this is related to, I am going to discuss in 2-3 class the entire, everything that is happening in economy. Broadly speaking, one story, the political story of Indian economy. To the 5-year plans, to major events, to the changes and transformations and politics behind them. Then how we ushered from Nehruvian socialism to new era socialism, and from there the process of liberalization starts. And then economic reforms and politics behind economic reforms in India. This is a topic also given in your syllabus. Was it easy for what were the incidents like? How the economic reforms happened politically? How the decisions were taken? Who were the people involved? What were the major landmark decisions or decisions that were taken to introduce reforms? Was it easy? Was it difficult for the government politically? Why wasn't there much political opposition to economic reforms in India? These are the questions. Was it easy for Narasimha Rao's government was a minority government. Narasimha Rao's government was a minority government in the sense that the government was not having majority in all these 5 years. Somehow he managed, because in the no confidence motion some people are not voting. Never had a complete majority. This is why they call him as Adhunik Chanakya also, because he will use Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, do anything to get the majority. And there was a Jharkhand Mukti Morcha JMM bribery case in which it was said that the bribe was given to win over some of the members of parliament to their side. And being in minority government, he brings in he has written the biggest script related to the economic transformation of India. Don't you think the 1991 was perhaps in the entire history of India, it is the major change as far as economics is concerned. You have lifted up so many people above poverty line after the reforms in the next 15-20 years. Yeah, so it is related with what is happening in the world also. So you need to understand the politics behind all of that. So it's not, and I'm afraid to say that in many of the books also, they deal it just in economic terms. They actually don't bring in that political perspective, which is required. And if you will read some wonderful books which are not actually the textbooks which I can prescribe, like one of the reads is by Mr. This person, Gurucharan Das, India Unbound. He has written 2-3 chapters there which actually tells you the political story behind. I will tell you that, but it's not necessary that you purchase all those books, because I will anyhow be discussing in the class. I will give you material also, I will give you, because we have incorporated things there in the material as well, so it's not required. Right, then why we shifted from planning to the policy era, From Planning Commission to Niti Aayog, the politics, there's also politics. Politics is involved. There's maybe an economic reason also, but there may be political reason also. And after that, what is happening? What are the new challenges? Then how the social movements happen in India. And social movements is perhaps the most interesting thing to be studied about India, because that's what is making actually India as a true democracy. When the people, they come onto the streets for their issues. When did they start doing it? Late 1960s. The impact of Naxalite movement was huge in Indian politics. Why do you think Indira Gandhi was so worried about poverty? Why? Why Indira Gandhi had nationalized banks, or why she talked about Garibi Hatao, is because Naxalism has started, no. 1967, Naxalbari movement started. There's a larger context for us to understand everything. We are not able to look at the entire canvas, the overall picture, what all is happening. And we fail to understand many times the importance of certain policy decisions. So politics will help you to get the broader, larger macro picture of everything. It will establish the cause-effect relationship, it will establish the reasoning behind things as to what is happening, why is it happening. It creates that larger context. Your understanding of your society, your politics, your administration, governance, even the way the laws are being implemented will be far, far better, right? You will have a complete perspective of looking at everything. You will get that, what you say, no, political correctedness, no? Politically correct statements. Who will give politically correct statement? Someone who understands politics, then only you will be politically correct, right? Then only you know that how to take stand, even in issues of polity or in social justice. You will be the people who will better be able to take the stand and conclude your answers in the best possible way. Clear? Paper. Section B is even more interesting. Okay? Section A is very interesting because of thoughts and ideas, and section B is interesting because of stories. There's a lot of stories there. That makes it very interesting. And paper 2 is even more interesting because you people, I think you must be taking interest in foreign policy and international relations. What's happening in the world today? Where are we moving? Very briefly, I will give you the idea of paper 2, very briefly, because now you will understand. In paper 2, what do we have? Yes? Question? Okay. In paper 2, we have again two components, section A and section B. Section A is what? In section A, you have two things. First of all, you have what is called as comparative studies. Okay, what do you study comparatively? Why comparative studies? In international relations, when you have to study the world, in the world, what will you study? The issues are emerging because of, let's say, democracy. If you have to study democracy across the world, then you need to study democracy in major democracies or not. You will study India, you will study US, you will study UK, you will study maybe China also, that democracy is not there, or Soviet Union, why democracy is not there. So will you do comparative studies? Why is it that democracy succeeds in some countries? Why is it that democracy hasn't succeeded in Pakistan? There's a comparative study. In the newly independent countries themselves, democracy is not successful everywhere. It is successful only in some of the countries. Political party systems are different in different countries. Why is it that India did not have multi-party system earlier? Why it came later on? Why is it that in many countries in South Asia itself, you will not have multi-party system? So political parties from comparative perspective means important countries, their political party system, especially India, US, UK. These three we are more interested in, mostly. Then pressure groups, social movements in these countries. So basically institutions in different countries will have to compare and understand. State itself, state in comparative perspective. What kind of state? Like capitalist state and the socialist state, what is the difference? State in developing countries, state in the developed countries, what is the difference? This is all comparative studies. Because until unless you will compare and understand the state and different institutions, you will not be able to understand the interplay of international politics. You know, non-aligned movement, Cold War politics. post-Cold War politics. Earlier we had unipolarity immediately after Cold War, the US domination, then the shift towards multipolarity, the rise of China, and what all is happening today. This paper is very dynamic, right? It's even more current oriented. So comparative politics we are doing to understand the international politics, and through comparison also you can get the best practice, right? Best practice through comparison. That means this will also contribute to theory, because it is going to determine some best practices. Okay, then we have some concepts here also, as I told you, to the concepts when we look at from different approaches or perspectives, then what comes in here? There will be different types of theories are evolved. This is what I had said earlier. In international politics, what are the concepts? Have you got my question now? In politics, I asked you what are the concepts? State, government, power, authority, democracy, all these. In international politics, what are the concepts? How will you explain the reality of international relations or international politics? What terminology you require? In what terms do you talk? Concepts in international relations will be national power. How much powerful a country is, isn't it? National power, national security, national interest, right? Every country is following what? Their national interest, and all of them want to become powerful. They try to make their increase upon their national power and to protect themselves, that is national security, isn't it? Then some countries can come together also, or many countries can come together for securing themselves also. There can be collective security initiatives, what you call as collective security. Is United Nations an example of collective security or not? United Nations Security Council, is it an example of collective security or not? It is based upon the idea of collective security. United Nations. Individually also you want to secure yourself, and many countries can come together. We have the power, bloc politics, we have regional level politics. Many countries come and they form the association. So associations or organizations like regional organizations or associations, that's another concept through which the word politics is being conducted. Foreign policy and diplomacy are also foreign policy, diplomacy. Then in diplomacy also there are different types of diplomacies. All of them may be concepts, right? We have like track 2 diplomacy, track 1 diplomacy, like different tracks of diplomacy. I don't know if you have still studied them, or maybe in your GS also these things will come, because entire paper 2 is very closely related to whatever is required for your GS paper. Bilateral relationship, foreign policy, and all the international issues. And many this year you see how many questions are asked in prelims on international organization now. Have you seen this year prelims? There are so many questions on international current affairs. And international relations will get clear, the current scenario will get clear only when you know the background. That is, international relations is strongly connected with world history also, because here itself you will have to go into the historical background of issues, because this I just told you theoretical, then we are going to study what is happening, like what happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Iraq, right, the Cold War times, what all was happening, and you get into the historical background also. It's connected with world history also, very strongly connected, right? So in section A, mostly we are going to study about comparative politics and these concepts and theories related to these concepts, and we are going to study the approaches also, different approaches. Then from those approaches we are looking at these concepts, like realist approach. Okay, tell me, realist, there is a realist approach and an idealist approach. Who will give more importance to national power? Realism will focus more on power, or idealism will focus more on power? Realism will focus more on power or idealism? Realism, no. Like India, what happened in after the Sino-Indian War in 1962? What happened? Indian foreign policy shifted from idealistic foreign policy towards realistic foreign policy, because now we could see the threat, no? And to overcome that threat, we need to acquire more power, national power. This is the reason we started to slow down in our rhetoric of disarmament. We started to talk less about disarmament, and slowly we started to start our nuclear program, and then we exploded it in 1974. But then diplomatic enough, we said that this is only for peaceful purpose. This is what started, no? 1974 nuclear explosion, India said it is for peaceful purpose. There is no intention of making any weapon. But in 1998, when India did it, it declared itself as a nuclear weapon state. There is a difference in 1974 and 1998. There is more realism in the foreign policy. So different approaches. There is a Marxist way of looking at the international politics also. There is a systems approach when you look at the overall what all is happening. So there are many different approaches. So you study approaches, you study the concepts, and then you see that how it is unfolding in the world. Right? Pre-Cold War times, Cold War times, post-Cold War times, and the very recent times. What's happening in Russia today or Ukraine, all of that has a long drawn story behind. Or whatever is happening in the Middle East or in Afghanistan, a lot of backgrounding is there. Are we clear now? This much is all about the syllabus. Okay, I'll take another 10 minutes to give you a brief about the course and our approach or the strategy. Okay, so overall, see, we are going to start our class on 3rd of July. Okay, but in the first 2 weeks we will have very less classes. I will give you I will discuss things, and then I will give you something to read also. We will go a bit slow initially, okay, and I will repeat also many things. So 3rd July we are starting. On 3rd July itself you are going to get the schedule, right, of the classes. Overall there will be around 100 sessions, okay. Generally I say 95 sessions, but it always exceeds. And I am saying 100, it may again exceed, okay. So there will be 100 sessions, fine. In these 100 sessions, there will be 3 people who will be taking the classes. I am going to take most of the classes. I will be taking up, so I will be taking up your section A of paper 1, okay, plus most of the areas of section B of paper 1, plus I will also take the comparative politics plus few issues in international relations, especially those which are related to economics. This I will be taking. This is in paper 2, okay. Then there will be D. Arya sir, who will basically be focusing more on foreign policy issues and some international politics, because that's his area of expertise. So he will be taking international relations, whatever issues I have taken apart from that, plus foreign policy. And the third person will be Shayani ma'am. She is going to take few sessions in this, like those which are related to social issues, right, like social movements and religion, class, because her expertise is from sociology. So she is going to take few sessions on basically the socio-political issues, right, and she will also give you a very strong insight into the freedom struggle, the historical issues, right. So issues related to freedom struggle, history related topics, though there will be some integration in some issues which I will also be discussing, but she will be the one who is going to discuss everything related to freedom struggle in detail, right? And this will be all power packed session, right? All the three teachers are going to empower you at equal footing, so you don't need to have any doubt related to any of the sessions, okay? Whatever challenges you people will face, you can always be very openly to tell us, okay? If you feel like sometimes that happens, no, some people they feel that you need a little more empowerment in certain areas, we will see how we can provide it. Session timing will be from 1 to 3:30. Regular means every week there will be classes. See, initially I told you for first 2 weeks there will be less class, okay? Like first week we will have only 2 sessions, second week we will have 3 sessions, and thereafter it will be 4 sessions per week. And after 2 months there may be 5 sessions per week. This will go on till, I think we will be able to finish the course by December. By December we will finish the course. So it will take 5 months, because classes will not be 6 days a week, okay? It will be 4 days or 5 days a week. Lot of news is there, you have to select. Yeah, see, the basis about it is like you have to look at which ones are local, you can leave those very local news items which doesn't have continuity even. First of all, something which is not happening continuously, and something which is not at the global level, that may not be important. Like for example, something happening in Afghanistan will be important for the world, okay? Something happening between 2 countries in Africa, maybe Rwanda and another country, a war-like situation will become important. But something too localized, also related to issues, suppose there is a war-like situation, or there is some kind of coup happening or government changing through revolutions, then it becomes important in whatever country it is happening. But a smaller issue of like some incident happened, like some accident happened in some country is not important. Some election happens and the government changes in a smaller country is not important. But in a bigger country it will become important. But a coup happening in small country is also important, because that's a revolutionary change, because it may impact the neighboring countries also. So you have to identify it by the intensity of the importance of the news, how important it is for the world, how important it is for the region, or whether it is localized or not. On that basis you can filter. And something which has a continuous story also, which is having it will have an impact on the world, right, if it is like going on continuously. Yeah. Uniform Civil Code. Yeah, you see, there also it's a polity issue, that what are the important issue for mains, what is important for prelims. You have to be very clear. In mains, what will happen? Only issue based questions will come. Only issue based questions will come in mains. And in prelims, question will be factual, conceptual. Facts or concept, whatever you have studied for prelims will be helpful in mains also, but in mains you have to deal with the issue. So Uniform Civil Code becomes important for mains. In prelims, at the most they will ask you constitutional provision, or the very idea what it is, or the concept, that's it. Or this particular may be covered under Uniform Civil Code or not, this particular aspect. Questions like this can only come in prelims, but in mains it will be important. But for that you have to identify that how much can you study for now. Okay, don't do those studies which is going to go waste. That's why I tell people generally don't make, I don't know what all other people may prescribe. I generally tell students, please don't make notes for the main examination, because you are not even sure that you are going to write mains. First focus on prelims. You can make current affairs one-liner notes for prelims for yourself also, apart from studying from other areas. You can make one-liner notes like some important facts and all those things, and this will help you to clear prelims. And once you are cleared prelims, mains you can prepare very smartly, and there's so much of material already available. Why will you create notes for mains unnecessarily? You can read Uniform Civil Code and issue from somewhere, or maybe later on you study one article. Archives are always available, no? Identify the issues, what issues the questions can come in mains. Yeah, exactly. You have to do selective. Yes, selective, partially, even in articles also, just select something. Yeah. That's the approach you have to follow. Do we have access to the recorded videos in case we miss the class? Yes, recorded videos will be available for some good amount of time that you can easily cover everything. Okay, so you don't have to be worried about that. No, offline students will not have that access. Only the online students will have. But in case of certain emergencies and all, we can provide you access. Okay, we will be open for that. Suppose you have continuously missed classes. Okay, then we can do that. Then we do that, but generally try not to do that. Okay, and offline students have other advantages. You can see me before the class, after the class, so anyway I can spend more time with you here. So some advantage, let them be there for them as well, right? Though I will always be available. I mean, you can always have my number also, and I'll be always available. Other mentors will also be available, right? Dharam sir, Shiny ma'am, all of them will be available to help you out in their respective areas and other areas of preparation as well. So any other question? A course fee and all is something which why would I get into that, right? That you can get in touch to the management or through different channels. You ask, I will tell you. I will not just get into those details over here. Bulkiness of the subject. You know what? I have been teaching both the subjects. Like I used to teach public administration also and PSIR also, both. And earlier, everyone used to say that PSIR is more comprehensive. But let me tell you, the theories and thought of political science are not scattered, right? It's very easily, it can be organized. And if it can be organized, it doesn't remain that bulky. Okay? And the politics and the process, again, it is, if it is organized, it is not bulky. It is bulky because it is not organized properly. And the purpose of the class is this, to organize it. It becomes, it will become easy for you to deal with them. Okay, and the bulkiness, otherwise in terms of issues, it is good if there are more issues, because this subject is going to help you like anything in your GS paper, isn't it? So many areas of GS is getting covered, so there is already an overlap. It's immaterial because anyhow you have to study it for GS. With the subject, along with the class, do keep doing what I'll tell you. I'll keep telling you, that's okay, go and read this, cover this much, revise this much. Just keep doing that. You will get the command, but you have to do that much. Then you can't say, no, I am not doing my work. Do that much and you will have the command. Okay? Hey, it's very easy. It's not at all difficult. It's all there. It will come in your, everything will get settled over here. So make it good, no? It's hectic for you. See, initially you take all this, in the initial times, right now you're not focusing on the exam, no? After January, you will start panicking. After January, by the time your optional is over, so you will have all the time. So it is better that it is hectic now. Okay, finish off, in your preparation. If you have to take the classes, it should happen as early as possible, because having done the classes, your preparation gets a complete guidance. It's on track. You will not deviate. You will know what to do and what not to do, right? And if you are studying by yourself, thinking like I will do this class later on, then in the initial phase you will be going off track. You will deviate. If you have to take the classes, try to take it as early possible. No, my suggestion would be that if you are to appear next year, if you have to appear 2025, there is no problem, right? If you have to appear for 2024, this is a time when you will cover your optional. Before December, cover your optional at least once, because in between prelims and mains now there is very less time, right? Very less time, 2.5 months maximum overall. If you say count from prelims also, maximum 3 months. What all will you prepare then? There's so much load of 4 papers of GS. So it's better to complete optional once before January. Okay, even I would say till the end of January also, if you complete your optional, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, then as far as sources are concerned, we are going to give you booklets, right? They are very comprehensive booklets, overall 10 booklets you will get, which will cover the entire syllabus, all the topics. If you will rely on those notes itself will suffice. You may not require books to read, but still I would suggest that for topic wise I'll keep suggesting some books, not many books, but okay, one book which I would rather, I tell everyone to start with is Political Theory by O.P. Gama. That is perhaps the best book to develop an understanding, okay. That's one book. Then maybe a book if you want for thinkers also I can tell you, but mostly you will rely on your booklets which will provide you. So I would suggest first you do your class notes, because your class notes will also be very comprehensive, because I will write everything on the board. Sometimes I will dictate 1 or 2 lines also. We will develop all the framework in the class. All your notes will be prepared in the class. You do not have to make any notes by yourself, because I know you cannot make better notes than what I will make for you here. You will not be able to make. Okay? So all the notes you will make in the class along with me. So we will go with the discussion, we will understand, and side by side we are making notes also in the class. Yes, our task will be difficult. It will be more difficult for me. It's easier to just give the lecture, but we will have to write things, okay, because you can't waste your time. I cannot make you people work here or in the class also and then go back and make another notes. Not required at all. We will make the notes in the class. Yes, after every chapter you may leave one blank page and you can add something to it if you are reading something extra, maybe some article or something, right? Bring everything at one place. It's your class notes only which you will revise before the exam and nothing else. No books, even booklets will not be revised just before the exam. That you will study much before. Class note is the one which you will revise and go for the exam. There will be all the content which is required to write the answers will be there in your class notes. And then of course you are already studying your current affairs which you will be using. Some articles and all we need to circulate, in fact that we will keep circulating afterwards also, after the batch is over, maybe when you are writing main, before that also, like magazines like World Focus, you have a lot of these foreign policy, international issues, some good articles are there. So some selective articles you can read. And newspaper anyhow you people are covering, and you people have to, if you are a PSIR student, you have to take newspaper more seriously, because foreign policy, IR, all those issues you have to cover. And politics, like generally what happens, a GS student will not get into politics, okay, but a PSIR student will have to get into important political issues like center and state, some conflict, leader, chief minister and prime minister's conflict. This is not important for GS, but in PSIR it will be important, because you can write some examples, like on this issue something like this happened. But not the politics which is informal, right? Any political leader making any statement is not important. Issue based politics is important. I can give you some guidance on newspaper also in the class itself. We can spend some time to tell you like how will you use the newspaper for the purpose of this subject. Is that clear? So sources, some very selective books, books only for reference purpose. Hard copy of the notes and the soft copy of the notes both will be provided to you, okay? Both will be provided, hard and soft copies both will be provided. For the online students as well, yes. How much time? Just a second, I'll just complete these queries which are there. Others is asking through which app do we, okay, that is for different platforms, there will be different ones, but you will get all the details, okay? You can get in touch with me either or on other numbers, you will give you all those details over there. Yes. Me? You are asking me? I wish there were 3 optionals. I wish there were. This is a very difficult question. Don't ask me like this. This is because I don't want to make you people opinionated by my ideas. What I will do, you decide.
If you like अभी जैसे आपने बोला that PSIR as well as PubMed, that's why
which one I can take. I wish there were all 3 options there in the syllabus, so I can take all 3 of them. No, it's your interest. Like for me, no, it's very difficult. Like I have almost immersed myself in these subjects that I take equal interest in them. Equal interest. I mean, for me today, I'm like, if you'll ask me seriously speaking, I will be confused which one to take. Very confused. So why do you want to get more confused? You take those factors into account, look at the syllabus, see which will you people will take more interest in. This year I'm not very sure what we are doing with PABAD. I mean, maybe we will start a bit late. We are still not sure about those things. Okay, PSIR we are clear. Okay, PABAD we will be announcing soon, like what course and who's going to take, how many who will take what classes, we'll announce that. PSIR we are clear. No, it's not like that, please. It's not like that. Anthropology may be less voluminous to say, but there are a lot of issues in paper 2 which are connected, and that good that those issues are there, because you will have a better understanding of social justice, social issues in GS also. Don't just go by the size of the syllabus, it doesn't work that way, doesn't. Any question, other question, what books are required? Books I will tell you on 3rd of July in another session that will be open also, and if you are still confused, you can attend 2-3 more sessions. We will open it, okay, so that there is no problem. 3rd July we have another open session. I will try to, maybe there are few things I might have to repeat also because there may be new students, but I will try to make it very different from today's session. I will try to do that. It's better that you can attend, and I will tell you about the books also that day. So as far as the syllabus, I will say go and analyze the syllabus, okay, see where you will take interest. What is your background? What is your background? In? That is business administration. So you have already studied it, but then in BBA you may not have studied the details of Indian administration. You may have studied only theoretical parts, no? And that also from managerial perspective. So what is the only thing that will be common with PABAD for you will be some of the the management theories. Rest everything will be new. So then why are you in doubt now? After the session you have got into the doubt or what? No, it's not vast. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the vastness. Don't worry about it. After all, you are going to study most of these things for GS paper. How is it vast? Look at the entire picture, no? The GS effort will become much less because you have covered so much over here. आप जब GS पढ़ते हो ना तो आपको IR में बहुत चैलेंज आता है क्योंकि आपको बैकग्राउंड्स नहीं पता होते. फॉरेन पॉलिसी में बहुत चैलेंज आता है क्योंकि बैकग्राउंड नहीं पता. यहाँ पे सबका बैकग्राउंड पता होगा. GS will become a cakewalk for you. It will become a. I'm seriously I'm telling you this. But still you look at the syllabus and then decide. Yes. You had a question? Anyone else? Your doubt is clear, PABAD PSIR. Okay. Whatever it be, you people decide that, and you can get in touch through, if you are interested, maybe in joining the course. 3rd July again there's an open session. And those who are convinced about the course, if you have to ask anything else about the course, I can tell you. I have basic things I have already told you, duration and areas, who will take what areas, how many sessions will be there, 100 sessions overall. Okay, you will get the detailed planner. Test series is not part of this. Tests will be part of the class. We will have regular tests and assignments. Okay, evaluation of course will be there. Evaluations, many of the things I myself try to evaluate, but sometimes is because of the classes we don't get time, so we'll have a team who will evaluate for you. But evaluation will be perfect for you, don't worry about that. I will try to ensure that I myself evaluate a good number of your papers, because that ways I also need to get an idea as to how you people are moving. Okay, so that's there. Any other question? Pinaki is asking what books are required. On 3rd July I can tell you the books, right, in a little more detail, because already the session has got stretched. Clear? Done? Shall we wind up then? Anything left? No? All settled? You are still confused with your optional? No? Okay, fine. I mean, it's a good subject to be taken up. After all, it is also performing. We see the trends also. That's another thing which adds, that's another factor, you know, because its subject is doing pretty well. And the biggest, you know, the best of things, if I will suggest you, not as an optional, if you will ask me to study one social science subject first, I will tell you to study all the subjects in your lifetime, one after the other. But the first subject, if you have to study from social science, it should be political science, because it develops that broad picture. And so sociology is also details, public administration is also details, but political science gives you a macro picture, right, in terms of thoughts. That's why it is the first subject to be studied, but not the only subject to be studied, but yes, maybe the only optional. Okay, all the best, see you all, thank you for joining. Thanks to everyone from all other centers as well, and we'll meet soon. Thank you.